Come now, Wallace. Let us explore. What's this? Jump. Jump.
In the USSR, people suffered for more than half a century due to the poor living conditions and political policies of Russia. People had been tired of this for a long time, and by 1985, the people had really gotten fueled up. Gorbachev was worried about the unhappy people, so he tried to impose new reforms, such as glasnost and perestroika, which did not go as well as he planned. Gorbachev set out to introduce new reforms after realizing that the Russian economy was not growing, but stagnating. He introduced perestroika. Perestroika was a movement allowing for more independent actions from various ministries, and introduced some market-like reforms. The goal of perestroika, however, was not to end the command economy, which was an economic system where decisions dealing with production and investments were embodied into a planned and formulated system by a central authority, but rather to make socialism work more efficiently to better meet the needs of Soviet consumers. Perestroika and the resistance to it are often cited as major catalysts leading to the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Gorbachev changed the meaning of freedom for the people of the USSR. Perestroika means reconstruction of political system. With perestroika, people were introduced to a new way of doing things, and they wanted more. Along with perestroika was glasnost, also known as openness. Glasnost more or less gave people a freedom of speech by relaxing censorship. This resulted in the Communist Party losing its ability to control the media. People were not only able to see how bad their country's housing, economy, food shortages, technology, and pollution were, they could now see how good it was in the Western countries. Glasnost caused members of the Soviet population to be more outspoken in their view that the USSR had been a failure. Glasnost did indeed provide freedom of expression far beyond what Gorbachev had intended, and changed citizens' views towards the government, which played a key role in the demise of the Soviet Union. Under glasnost, more publics within the USSR started to express their feelings towards incorporation into the USSR as a result of the Nazi-Soviet Pact. Following World War II, their anger regarding this incorporation was made very apparent to the government. After a long period of being suppressed, these republics used this new freedom to push for greater control over their economies and the right to express their national identity. Not only did glasnost relax censorship, it also allowed for multi-party elections, which would beat out communism in a landslide. Gorbachev did not want a multi-party system. He wanted a single-party system, although he knew that that was not possible in a democracy. Gorbachev tried to implement democratization into his works to make a single-party system a democratic single-party system. Gorbachev felt like he was a hero for doing this and was considered a worldwide reformer. In June of 1988, the CPSU, or the Communist Party of the Soviet Union's 19th Party Conference, first held since 1941, Gorbachev and his supporters launched radical reforms meant to reduce party control of the government apparatus. He again called for a multi-candidate election for local and regional legislatures and insisted on the separation of the government apparatus from party bodies at the regional level as well. In the face of an overwhelming majority of conservatives, Gorbachev still was able to rely on party obedience to the higher authorities to force through acceptance of his reform proposals. Gorbachev had been moving quickly towards a democracy, but the people who truly supported communism were extremely angry about this. By 1991, Gorbachev was prepared to negotiate a settlement in which the republics would belong to a new union, which would only be ruled by the central government in certain areas, while the member republics would be responsible for the other matters. However, many communist hardliners were horrified by this imminent breakup of the USSR. These were people who were already opposed to Gorbachev's economic reforms, which had failed and worsened the economic situation. Therefore, on the 18th of August, these hardliners launched a coup to overthrow Gorbachev, in which he was placed under house arrest and rule was taken over by an 8-member committee. The Soviet army was sent to enforce the coup, but when thousands of people came pleading for the army to turn back, the army came to a halt. These people were led by Boris Yeltsin. By the 21st of August, most of the coup leaders had fled Moscow, and Gorbachev was rescued from Crimea and then returned to Moscow. Yeltsin was subsequently hailed by his supporters around the world for rallying mass opposition to the coup. After the coup, Gorbachev was restored to his position, although he was extremely unpopular and politically devastated. Neither the Russian power structure nor the Union would follow his commands. Yeltsin took advantage of this and began to dismantle the Soviet government. On November 6, 1991, Yeltsin set forth a law banning all Communist Party activities from Russian soil. The fall of Russian communism can be credited to Gorbachev's policy implementations of glasnost and perestroika. These new systems of openness, along with the restriction of the controlled political system, were Gorbachev's main tools for implementing the new reforms to try to improve the USSR. By the way, when I said coup, I actually meant coup.